Wednesday, so you know what that means. It is time for 705 Sports, The Headlines. If you haven't seen Monday's rant yet, make sure you head on over to SiouxOnline.com and that video on demand service, because I went on a bit of a rant about the Leafs. But before we get into more about the Leafs, let's start off with our Sioux Greyhounds. So the Greyhounds are currently on a road trip. They play tonight versus the Sudbury Wolves. And as you can see from the graphic that's on your screen, this road trip has not gone to plan. So they lost to Sarnia 6-5 in overtime. Then the game that they really needed was against Windsor. They lost that 7-3. So now tonight, they are playing the Sudbury Wolves. Now this becomes an even more important game than it was before, because you need to try to salvage this road trip. So far you only have 1 out of a possible 4 points from the road trip. And now you're really looking to get that other one. If you can get a win tonight, at least it means you got 3 out of a possible 6. Finish the road trip 1-1-1. It's not what they were hoping for, but it's not a disaster. So let's have a look at our top 4 for the OHL standings in the Western Conference. And as you can see here, the Greyhounds have slipped from 3rd to 4th. Since losing that game to Windsor. Windsor was able to jump over them, which is why I talk about games versus them being like a 4-point game. But as you can see, the Greyhounds certainly still do have a fighting chance for first in the West. When you look at the other 4 teams that are still in the playoffs, it doesn't look like any of them are going to be able to really catch the Greyhounds, which is good news, meaning it looks like the Greyhounds will more than likely have home ice advantage to start the playoffs. Now that is super important, but they're still fighting for first in the West. Now, if we get to the next graphic that's going to come up on your screen, it is the most important games to win. Now, you lost the first one to Windsor, so that you don't play Windsor anymore for the season. That's why it's a bit disappointing they lost that one. But, sorry, they play Windsor 2 more times. My apologies, my eyes got a little screwed up there. But they play Windsor 2 more times and then Flint 3 times. If they can win most of those games, I think they need to win at least 4. Then they have a fighting chance for first in the West. It's not going to be a guarantee, but it's a fighting chance. And that is going to be a tall task because they're still suffering injuries of Ivanov, which means Tucker Tyan has had to play like every single game, which is a bit of a struggle. But if you're looking for more on that game, head over to SiouxOnline.com. Great website. And my pregame for tonight is on there. It's also on Facebook, plus my own Jacob Moore Sports Analyst Facebook page. So tons of places for you to find it. Now, before we get into the Toronto Maple Leafs and what's going on there, I want to quickly mention the NHL has now suspended all communications with the KHL in Russia. So this basically means now the leagues will not be working together for players who want to move from the KHL to the NHL, which is going to make it harder for players who want to switch leagues. So this is going to mean that teams now, they're going to be a lot less likely to draft players from Russia at this time and in the KHL, and you're not going to see as many players sign a contract in the NHL from the KHL, and this all has to do with the invasion on Ukraine with Russia and Ukraine. The NHL is trying to stand with other sports leagues and do what they feel needs to be done. But now let's move over to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Kyle Dubas spoke with reporters 2 days ago now about the NHL trade deadline, and we have a clip about what he wants to do with the team.
We still have some quite a bit of flexibility to get creative and try to make something happen, but I don't think we'll have, unless we get the news we don't want on Muzz, I think we'll just have the one move left in us here. Sorry, Josh.
Thanks. Are you more inclined to add a forward than maybe you were a few weeks ago?
No, not at this time. I think if we're going to focus on anything, you're always just trying to make the team better, but I think at this time it'd be more on defense.
So when you hear Kyle Dubas there, he's definitely focusing on defense more than offense. Jake Muzzin is still injured with that concussion. Because this is his 2nd concussion of the season, he is a lot less likely to be rushed back in. Now, there's some good news on Jake Muzzin, though. He did skate yesterday. Sorry, the music just blasted in my ear. Rocking out. He did skate, which that viz will come up on your screen. With Jake Muzzin did skate, which is great to see that he was skating not with the team, but, skating around. So with Muzzin return or not return, either way, the Leafs are still looking to at least add 1 defenseman. Now, we do have our NHL Trade Bait list. And when we take a look at that, these are the defensemen that are on the market currently. Now, Jacob Chikrin, it looks like Toronto has not showed a lot of interest in him. I think just for that they can't afford him. I don't think you're going to see the Leafs go for like Giordano, Chikrin, Klimberg, I think Colin Miller and Ben Sherratt are probably the most expensive defensemen you're going to see them trying to go for. I think they'll more be trying to get a Luke Schenn, Zdeno Chara, Mark Stahl. I think that's more the salary range they can afford at this time. So when you hear that from Toronto, you're kind of saying, okay, so it just depends on Jake Muzzin. So does Toronto do a Tampa Bay Lightning? Which what I say by that is, do they hold Muzzin off just until the playoffs so they can use his salary space to bring him in? I don't think they will, because the team is struggling without Muzzin quite a bit. It's not been very good. It's on your screen now how he actually got injured. And this, like I said, was his second concussion of the season already. He's had a lot of concussion issues just by the way he plays. It's frustrating for the Leafs too, because it happened on a pretty much a nothing play, which is discouraging. And you could see the whole team is very concerned. So he basically just loses his edge. And then when he goes in, he hits his head off the Montreal Canadiens' like elbow shoulder area and then hits the ice. So they have to be careful, right? Because they don't want to risk him out any longer than what he is, because he is their top defenseman. Sandin is also out at the moment with a day-to-day injury, which certainly does hurt the club. And we saw it again last night in the Leafs game. They did win, so good news there, and some visit that game is going to come up on your screen. But defense was still a bit of an issue. But I want to start off with Jack Campbell. And when watching the TSN broadcast, everyone else, all the forwards that make a bad plays, they're like, well, we got to cut him some slack. And then Jack Campbell, oh, he needs to be better. And I don't like the double standards. I'm not saying this was a perfect game from Jack Campbell. I mean, he allowed 4 goals. It's not a perfect game. But he battled. He battled hard. He made some big saves. And he didn't let in the 5th goal, allowing the Leafs to score one of the goals of the year, leading on Austin Matthews, getting the hat trick, Michael Bunting getting that beautiful assist, Mitch Marner getting the game winner. That top line is rolling, which is good news. But for Toronto, it's one of these things, it's like, yes, has Jack Campbell and Peter Mrazek been playing their best hockey of late? No, but I think that game from Campbell was a step in the right direction, which is, I think that's more important than what people are really realizing. He looked confident in the net, he was making saves, and the team was able to rally behind him, and they were able to score again. They now have 56 goals in the past 6 games, which is just absolutely insane. But let's talk about a former Greyhound. Jared McCann just signed a 5-year contract extension with the Seattle Kraken. So congratulations to McCann. This is really his first long-term contract. He's always been just a one-and-done kind of player. Has 21 goals this year, playing a really solid year, but a big piece for them. And I think Seattle wants him moving forward as kind of like a building piece for their team, right? So congratulations to Jared McCann, former Sioux Greyhound. I just wanted to get out there. But last, but certainly not least for today's show, I want to talk about Aaron Rodgers. Well, actually, I don't really want to, but I'm going to. So Aaron Rodgers, after all was whining, always complaining, lying about his COVID-19 vaccine, and blowing it in the playoffs, Green Bay just said, let's just re-sign him to $200 million. So the Green Bay Packers are bringing Aaron Rodgers back at 4 years at $200 million, and not per year, over the term. I don't like this signing at all. I think Green Bay should have moved on from Rodgers. I think the amount he complains and whines, I think it's a toxic environment. And I don't see Green Bay winning a Super Bowl under Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry, Packers fans. I know there's a lot of you in the city, and hey, maybe you're going to look at me and be like, man, this guy's an idiot. But at the end of the day, it's my show. It's my opinion. That's how we roll. But thank you so much for watching this week's Wednesday's edition of 705 Sports. Dan Gray will join me on Friday, where we have our full show looking for previous episodes of 705 Sports or First Local, which is the Sioux's only live local news show, and other cool local events. Head on over to SiouxOnline.com. Scroll down a little bit. There's a video on demand service, and you can see all of our shows and videos that we do, because there's a lot of great stuff on there. But I got a piece of paper this time, so we will see you next time.